Welcome to another episode of High Canada Magazine Interviews with me, Cy Williams, and I'm here with the father of legal cannabis in the United States of America and abroad, Steve DeAngelo. Steve, thank you so much for joining us on our HCM interviews. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us today.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Cy. It's great to be with you.
Well, you had a long trip in. You've been traveling an awful lot over the last little while. Tell me a little bit about your travels and what you've been doing the last little while.
Well, since the onset or the onslaught of adult use cannabis in California in 2018, I've been spending a big chunk of my time traveling around the world and visiting emerging cannabis economies. You know, the spark that we lit in California 20 some odd years ago has spread all over the world.
It is burnt strong and bright. Lots of work to do still to keep that fire burning, but you are entrenched in the middle of keeping that fire going and keeping it built up and building it out around the world right now. So that is an amazing thing. So you're seeing cannabis communities emerging internationally.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, what's happened now, and it's the degree and exactly the way it happens is different in all the different places. But the walls that Prohibition forced us to put up to be safe are now coming down. And we're able to come out of these caves that we've all been hiding in. And we've usually been hiding in the caves with 200 or 300 friends or so, right? We haven't been totally alone, but we've been in these kind of isolated places. And now we're coming out and we're like, hey, you kind of look like me. Well, you might not look like me, but you kind of like me, but I really like hanging out with you. And so this, for me, has manifested in just meeting people who love the plant of every race, religion, economic status, educational level, position and role in society. I've been at a table with a former peasant guerrilla and a billionaire. Right? I've been at a table with Wall Street brokers and some of the most hardcore hip-hop rappers that have ever existed. And with cannabis being shared among them, we become one tribe.
I love the concept of tribe, and I see it here in Canada. I see it in Europe. And it no matter where I go to in the cannabis industry, whether it be a legacy event or a cannabis industry conference, I see that same sort of bond forming between people, and it's closing that triangle, and really it's like watching this family grow and grow and grow and grow. And you know, compared to yourself, I've only been really in the industry for 10 years, and the massive amount of growth I've seen here in Canada and in Europe has been just astounding to me. And how many friends that I've met, and how many how many joints and edibles I smoked and eaten with these friends as well. So your similar experiences just intrigue me because, you know, people often come up to me and they're so excited to tell me about you and tribe and the tribe that they've just discovered. And that must be really daunting and almost humbling. I'm sure people approach you all over the world to almost thank you and show you appreciation for even defining the idea of tribe and allowing people access to that tribe and information about that tribe. And there's definitely a reason why you are referred to as the father of legal cannabis.
Well, it's so delightful for me to be able to travel around the world and wherever I go to connect with people who love cannabis as much as I do. And, you know, the UN says there's 270 million of us in the world. Now, we're off by a factor of 3 or 4 at least, right?
Okay, absolutely.
Right? There's
absolutely.
more like probably 1 billion of us, because we still got to be on the DL a little bit in most places, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, places
It's
like
true.
that, right?
Yeah,
but everybody counts, no matter where we are. So think about that. Wherever we are, we've had the same experiences with this plant.
Yes.
Out of those experiences, we have learned a set of similar lessons. And out of those lessons, we've developed a common value system. So wherever we are around the world, we value creativity over conformity. We value individual freedom over structural authority, whether it's a government, a corporation, or a religion, or anything else.
Absolutely.
Right? We value nature over wealth. We value inclusion, radical inclusion, over discrimination. The only thing that really, really offends us is intolerance. It's really the only thing we can't tolerate.
That's very well said. I have a problem with intolerance, and most of the people I know have a problem. You know, we fight so hard against the stigma of being cannabis users, and it's at the heart of that is it's just simple intolerance. And you know, but the one thing I love about what we do, our chosen paths, is we get to break down the walls of stigma on a daily basis. With every conversation, with every media appearance, with every discussion or joint shared with a new person, we get to break those walls down. And that's what I'm most proud of in my career. And I can imagine the amount of stigma that you have broken down. It would be like the rubble of an apocalypse.
I love that analogy. Thank you. That's
Yeah,
very
I like that
generous.
too. I just jumped into my head.
Boom, boom, boom.
That's right.
Yeah.
Beating down the walls.
Could be
of
a video
stigma.
game.
I know. We make a really awesome music video for you hip hop musicians out there who want to hit Steve and I up for a little like a post-apocalyptic music video.
There we go.
That could be fun. Okay, so you've been involved in a lot of things in your career. You've published a book. There's a big mini-series, a Discovery Channel that you're also responsible for. You're very heavily involved in the Last Prisoner Project. What projects are you most proud of at this stage in your life that you've been involved in or are involved in right now?
Well, there's a lot of them in the course of my career.
So
I'm
many.
not going to go all the way backwards in time. Let me just mention a couple that I'm working
Absolutely.
on right now. One, of course, is the Last Prisoner Project. And the Last Prisoner Project really came out of an encounter I had here in Toronto in 2017.
Okay, tell me about it.
So, like many cannabis executives at the time from California, I'm in Toronto looking for capital to grow my company.
Okay.
I find myself at the top floor of a very impressive building in the financial district. I'm sitting at a long conference table. Some of the most powerful people in the financial district are sitting at that table with me. And we've got these spreadsheets in front of us. And the spreadsheets, they envision massive amounts of weed, tons and tons of weed, millions and millions and millions of dollars. Everybody quite happy in the room, you know. It's like we didn't know what was going to happen in 2018 was not good. We thought it was going to be really great.
I remember the optimism of those times. I do.
So we're sitting there counting the dollars, right? Everybody's feeling really rosy. My phone starts buzzing. Normally I don't get up from a table like that, but in this case it's my buddy Chuck who's calling from prison in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I get up, I answer the call. Chuck's doing 4 years for transporting 14 pounds of cannabis from California to Pennsylvania. So I talk to him, and it's grim, because it's just fucking grim to talk to your friends when they're in prison. You hear that metal clanging and the announcements and the pain in their voice. So when I go back in the conference room, that grimness is still clinging to me.
Of course.
And I look around the room, nobody else is anywhere close to grim. It's the opposite. And I look at those spreadsheets, and I look at all of that weed and all of that money, and I'm like, okay, I cannot allow a reality to exist where some people remain in prison for relatively small amounts of cannabis while other people create intergenerational wealth for huger quantities. And of course, in the United States, many other places, there's a racial dimension to this, where people in the new legal industry are mostly white people, and it's mostly people of color who are incarcerated. The Last Prisoner Project was started to make sure that as we build the legal industry, that everybody who's in prison on cannabis charges, who's doing the same thing that the legal industry is doing, gets out, goes to their families, and gets some help to rebuild their lives.
So how many people do you think the Last Prisoner Project has helped at this point?
Well,
Countless.
we've helped thousands of people. We help in many different ways. We participate in campaigns with other organizations that are designed to release mass numbers of prisoners. We help with expungement clinics so that people can have their records expunged.
Oh, I like that.
So they do not go back to prison.
Do you hear this, Canada? This is how we should be doing it here. Sorry.
We provide money to prisoners who are in prison so that they can get what they need. The food in prison is horrible. Sometimes the only edible food is what can be purchased from a commissary.
Yeah.
Sometimes the only way they can get health items is from a commissary. We help support their families while they're locked up. So we've helped our constituents' children go to school, or with medical bills, or the other kind of things that are just become insurmountable challenges for families when they're breadwinners incarcerated for 10, 20 years. We have people in the United States now who are serving life without parole sentences for possession of as little as 30 grams of weed. We have Kevin Allen in the state of Louisiana who's serving his time in the Angola Penitentiary, a former plantation where the vast majority of prisoners never leave alive. He's doing life without parole for the sale of $20 worth of weed.
That is deplorable, and my heart is sinking into my stomach at this moment just thinking about that poor man and his family for $20 worth of cannabis. Like that, his whole entire life is taken away from him. It's incredibly unfair, and it's good that he needs supporters and people in his corner to speak for him, to advocate for him, and not just him, but the countless others who are still in jail, incarcerated for things that are absolutely legal in their states or their provinces. We see the same thing in Canada. We have cannabis amnesty here, trying to get pardons, and it's a slow process. I think they've only been able to get maybe, I think, mid-80, 86, 87 pardons, but I think the example that the Last Prisoner Project has shown us. Other countries are saying, "Wow, this is a great idea. Yes, we can't let these people be punished and penalized." And we're seeing it here in Canada. Maybe not to the level of the Last Prisoner Project in the U.S., but we need to get to that point. I'd like to see, and I'm sure we'll see that in Europe and in other countries that have been on the cusp of legalization and did punish people for simple cannabis offenses. So last question while I have you. What are you involved in now, and what can we expect from Steve DeAngelo for the rest of 2022?
Well, what I'm involved in now is a couple of different things. One, I'm looking at the legacy cannabis community all around the world and trying to do my best to make sure that it has a viable pathway to the legal market. I think that actually it's inevitable that happen. I think that if you take a look at what's happening in the world of legal cannabis, certainly in North America, what we have seen is that the idea of massively scaled up corporations that sort of try to put the plant into a pyramid kind of structure are not doing so well. It turns out the cannabis plant doesn't really want to be put in a pyramid. She's like, no, don't put me there. I'm not going to do well there. I won't perform optimally. And I didn't come here to help you build pyramids. I helped you to come here to tear them down.
Oh, very well said.
So that's part of the work. The other part of the work is more fun. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in Jamaica over the course of the next year. I'm going to be working to create sanctuaries for the tribe that we're talking about, for people from all over the world that have a love of cannabis and other visionary plants. We now have an opportunity in Jamaica to bring people together from all over, hang out for a week or two in the birthplace of the culture of cannabis resistance and freedom.
Yes.
Absorb some of that culture, absorb some of the spiritual energy from our Rastafari brethren, right? Hang out together,
The spirit of
share
togetherness.
food, become together, become connected, And just imagine, right, if we can get different groups of the tribe to come down and hang out in Jamaica for a week or two, say that we can get 25 groups like that in a year, and at the end of like 5 years, we've got like more than 100 people all around the world who have been bounded together in that kind of way.
You know what I love about that? I have a criminal record here in Canada. I unfortunately cannot travel to the United States because of my criminal record. I can, however, I do travel to Amsterdam, Jamaica, to meet my friends in the international cannabis space. So having something like that would benefit. There are so many people like myself out there in the Canadian cannabis or the international cannabis space who would relish an opportunity to meet with my peers, with my tribe, and learn and get in touch with what really matters. And that's what a lot of this legal industry is missing. They quantify numbers and they don't appreciate the plant. They don't appreciate the concept of tribe. Maybe it's not that they don't appreciate it, but they haven't found a way to resonate with it yet. And having something like that in Jamaica, I could see that changing the entire world, giving us a place to get together and really work out the concepts of tribe.
Well, stay tuned. Maybe our next interview, I'll bring you some photos and we can talk about what exists instead of what's getting ready to be.
Wouldn't it be great to do that in Jamaica?
Yeah.
At one of these amazing events, conferences, summits that are available. Well, listen, that's all the time.
Coming to you live from high in the hills of Westmoreland Province, Jamaica.
I love that. And that, by the way, folks, that's it for us right now. Thank you, Steve, and thank you to our listening and viewing audience for this. This is it for us. This is another episode of High Canada Magazine Interviews with me, Cy Williams, sitting here with the very amazing Steve DeAngelo. We'll see you soon.